Well, hey there, and welcome to this edition of B.E.P Talks, where wonderful, generous people come to share their stories, to share their beliefs, their experiences, and their passions. So, to inspire you, motivate you, educate you, pardon me, and sometimes just to entertain you. No exception today. My guest today is Brenda Marie Sheldrake, and we have some very important things to talk about. Would you please join me on the B.E.P Talk stage? There she is. I am so sorry. Nothing like live TV. Nothing like live TV. But you know what? That's part of what B.E.P Talks is. It's just authentic. It's just two gals sitting down here chatting. So welcome, Brenda. Thank you so much for joining me here on the B.E.P Talks stage.
Thank you, Beth.
When
I'm
I
happy to be
heard,
here.
my absolute pleasure. When I heard that it was going to be my pleasure to meet you, because this is the first time we're meeting, and to share a B.E.P Talk conversation slash interview with you, I was very curious because I came to realize that lead generation was attached to you. And when I think of lead generation, I think of a very important component of the overall sales system and the marketing. Very, very important. A key part of building a business. And then I heard about you as building legacy through relationships. Would you please tell me and our audience how those two things jive?
Well, it's really very simple if you understand the way that I generate leads because number one, I don't do a done for you service. I don't have a done for you service. I teach entrepreneurs to generate their own leads. And what I'm teaching them how to do is I'm teaching them how to get referrals and introductions to their qualified candidates, to people that they want to meet so that they never have to cold call again. So really, it's about building the relationships you want that'll take your business to the next level, which is also what legacy is.
Oh, I love that. Now you said that, it's like, hello, it makes so much sense. So it's combining two sides, if you will, same coin, two sides, but one coin. You have stressed to me for 2 seconds before we went live here that you do it through building relationships. So important, so important. How do you use the power of building, strengthening relationships to grow both your business and to create a legacy, which can be made through your business, but also through your personal life? How do they intersect?
Well, I did a talk recently on a summit on legacy, and I asked a question, and I think the question that I asked will kind of answer this question. Because the question I asked was, if someone says your name in a room and you're not there, what will other people say?
Wow.
That is your legacy. And if you are an entrepreneur, you want to be confident that people are going to be recommending and saying positive things about you. If they're not recommending your business, at the very least, they're saying that you're honest, dependable, punctual, that you deliver quality, those kind of things. That's legacy, but it's also what you need in order to succeed in business.
Absolutely. I've heard the word legacy a lot lately, and it seems that we're having maybe a little bit of a change in what it means. And you've just kind of expressed that. Legacy is not about, that someone did a documentary 100 years after you died, or that you're written in history books and that you're part of this main role that you played historically for the world. We all have a legacy. We all have the right to somewhat control it, to build it, to determine what we want our legacy to be. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. I believe so. When I was first invited to be part of the Legacy Summit, I couldn't figure out, kind of like you were saying, I'm like, I'm a lead generation strategist. Why did they want me on a Legacy Summit? And then I went even further, and I'm going to tell a secret here. I looked at it and I was like, I'm not rich. I don't have a legacy to leave. I'm not leaving a legacy behind. I'm going to be one of those people who just flew through life, but I don't have a legacy. And so I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, so what is legacy? And what I landed on was I started thinking about my dad. And my dad passed away about 3 years ago.
Sorry. Sorry.
But in the summit that I talked on, I shared the story of my dad. My dad was an electrician, a general contractor in a small company in a small town, never had a great big pension, never had a great big, there was nothing huge about him. He was small, he was 5 feet tall, and he didn't work for one of the big companies that did any of the big name things. But when I finished the summit talk, one of the things that I said was, if you go to Smithville, Ontario right now, which probably many of your listeners don't even know where that is, and if you do, hello, friends, I miss you. If you go to Smithville and you ask, where's the house that Bob Sheldrake built?
Oh,
He's been gone for 3 years. People are going to be able to point you to that house. He left a legacy. His name is his legacy. And I
you,
think
you are
that's all you can be
legacy.
left with sometimes.
Yes, a good name. And legacies can be negative as well. I mean, it's the reputation you leave behind. Is that kind of the easiest way to define legacy?
Absolutely.
Reputation you
Absolutely.
leave behind. So you are part of his legacy, though.
I am.
And you absolutely are. You mentioned your dad. My dad has gone many, many years, more than three, but I cannot go anywhere back to my hometown that people around my age, a half a generation older and a full generation younger, will not walk up to me and talk about my dad. Everywhere,
Exactly.
everywhere. He ran the
Exactly.
sports program. He got kids into colleges, college scholarships. He got kids out of jail and he kept kids out of jail. He got athletes to the NBA. Um, he contributed to the lives of so many people in addition to his own 6 children. So, and that brings such joy to my heart. And he is mentioned in books, by the way. He is mentioned in books. So it doesn't have to be as grand as that. We all will leave a legacy, whether we think we are or we aren't. We will. We will. So let's go back to lead generation and legacy. From a business person's perspective, how do we create those relationships through business that will create legacy, that keep our reputation alive? How do we seek to do that?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to focus on building relationships with the kinds of people that share your mission, values, vision.
There it
They
is.
don't have to be in the same business as you, but if they don't share your mission, values, and vision, then you're probably going to be banging up against each other quite often.
Right.
But if you're parallel, if you're congruent, then when they mention the other person's name, they're going to mention yours alongside it.
Right. 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 So saying you don't get to choose your family, but you can choose your friends. You can also choose your business partners, those with whom you want to have a business relationship. I'm going to go
Absolutely.
back to my dad for a second because he always taught us as we were growing up, choose your friends wisely because you are only as good as the company you keep. And we all know that, always make good decisions. So when you're choosing business partners, people with whom you want to do business, leads, people that you want to have as customers, as clients, you get to choose them, don't you? You get to say, I do want to do business with you for you. Um, but I don't have to. I get to choose.
And I think that's really important distinction. because sometimes we let our bank account do the choosing for us. And I'm not saying that you ignore your bank account when you're picking clients, or that if somebody comes along who's got a big deal for you that you're going to turn them down. But honestly, if I'm being very truthful and genuine with you, if someone came along and they had $1 million and they said to me, I want you to do XYZ, and I didn't agree with whatever XYZ was, or the business that they were in, I didn't feel good about attaching my name to it, I'd turn down the $1 million because it's not worth the $1 million. You can, as crazy as this sounds, you can make more money, but you're gonna have to work awfully hard to repair your name if it gets damaged.
If you ever could. Yes, yes. Once you, what would be the right word? Once you lose that trust ability, that accountability, that people don't want to, I don't know that you can gain it back. It's like in any relationship. Um, you might be able to gain it back somewhat superficially, but I think deep down, it's still
The
rooted there. You
shadow,
don't forget. You don't
I
forget.
agree with you. The shadow is always there. Who is it? Who is that woman? She was a really big name um on television and everything, but then she got arrested for uh she was it was associated or accused of like embezzling. Um I-
Actually, I think there were several of those people.
but it happened, and then people said, "Oh no, well she got out of jail. She got released from jail. Um she got good lawyers. The good lawyers defended her and she got out of jail." But that doesn't mean it goes away. Like if I said her name, you would go, "Oh yes." And I think we can you don't have to just think on a movie star level of that. I think there are people in our community, there are people in our neighborhood, there are people in our world who will come across us, will cross our path, but we're just as happy that they keep walking. They're not
Yes.
somebody that we want to hook up with or to hook ourselves to.
Right, to be associated with. Right, right. You know, that is so true. You've just said a couple of, I got to tell you, there are several people that I'm thinking, oh, it could be that one or it could be this one. I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to disparage anybody, but we've all heard those stories. And there
Yeah.
are many of them. There are many of them. And I do believe in redemption. I do believe in contrition, but you can't change the past. You can change, but you'll remember the past. You can choose a new path, but the past will always be there. The rear view mirror will always be there. So, how do you work with people from the lead generation perspective, which business owners, always need to find new clients, always need to know where to try to find and build those new relationships to grow a business, to scale a business. What role can you play for those people?
So I have a newer slogan that I'm using these days that I use with people. And the slogan is this: entrepreneurs say all the time that they believe that they have a lead generation problem, that they need more leads. But when you really take a close look, if you open up your telephone book, if you open up your Rolodex, if you open up your cell phone, if you look at your contact list in your CRM, you have lots of leads. What you really need is to work on your relationship building system. Because when you get those people to know you and know what you do, know what's important to you, know what you stand for, so that when they're talking to somebody else, they say, "Oh, you've got to talk to Beth because Beth can help you in this way."
Right, right. And that goes back to your legacy. So now I'm
It
seeing the
does.
bridge between the two. And,
It does.
one of my favorite sayings, Maya Angelou, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's very much part of the, I'll call it the art, but a skill set of building a relationship, but doing it authentically because otherwise, eventually you'll put a pin in that balloon and it'll just go away. So we
It
have different relationships through life. There's another saying, you have friends even for a reason, a season, or for a lifetime. Um, that's not to say that we abused a relationship or misused a relationship. We served its purpose, we met its goal, and then we moved on. Is that fair to say?
I think that's very fair to say. I don't think that when we pick out people, we say, okay, I'm going to be your friend for a month or I'm going to be a friend for a year.
No, no.
There was a lady many years ago. I met a woman, and I always hope when I do podcasts and when I talk about her, I hope that somewhere out there she's out there. And I'm not saying her name, but there was this lady, and I met her at a very sensitive time in my life. My mom had just passed away. I was missing her terribly. I was so, so heartbroken. And this woman came along and she went with me to some events that I wanted to go to. I was looking for something to believe in, something to carry me a message. And what I hooked myself to was those people who channel messages from people who have passed. And
Oh,
I went to an event where there was a woman who said that she, with the help of her spirit guide, carried messages from people who had passed. And I went to check it out and to see what it was like, and we went together. And this lady, she went with me because I was afraid to go alone. And I didn't get a message that night. But what I did get was I started to build this really strong cemented relationship with this lady. That relationship lasted for about a year. And then we just kind of grew apart for a lot of different reasons. And today I don't know where she is, but I hope that if she hears this podcast, that she knows how much of a difference she made in my life at that
oh,
time.
oh. So receive that message, whoever you are out there. And you know what? There might be many people who that message can serve. Maybe not necessarily through their relationship with you, Brenda, but in a relationship with another person. That we cross paths for a reason, even if it's just in passing. You know what I say to people? People have said, observed about me, Beth, people are always smiling at you. And I'm like, oh, I became aware of that. I became aware of it that when people are smiling at me, I am thinking of my mother, who kind of had a Mona Lisa expression. It was always pleasant, it was never intrusive, it was never like out there. But I realize I'm kind of feeling her spirit and must be wearing that expression and sharing it with somebody else. And I'm thinking, could there be an easier way to have a momentary relationship in the life of another person? And it was with one of my brothers, and we were in a big store. And he said to me, do you talk to everybody? And I said, you know what? If our eyes connect, I try to, because I don't know the last time maybe someone was kind to that person. And in that moment, I have a gift to give. They can receive it or not. But it takes nothing to do that. It costs you nothing, and you get so much back. So maybe part of our legacy can be anonymous. You were just that woman, just that guy, just that child at some place or time that made another person feel better about themselves, their life in that moment. Am I oversimplifying this?
No, you're not. In fact, there's a I belonged to a group for quite a while called the Happy Neighborhood Project. And the person who started the Happy Neighborhood Project, his idea, his mission, it started when the economy, when the market crashed the first time. And his mission was to bring some happiness, to bring back some happiness to people in general. And he used to stop people on the street and he would say to them, can I ask you a question? What does happiness mean to you? And he stopped a young man one day and he said to him, can I ask you a question? What does happiness mean to you? And the young man said, I'm in an awful hurry. I have to go. And he said, but could you just take 2 seconds and answer that question? And the young man said, no, I have to go. And he asked one more time and he still didn't get an answer. And I'm going to shorten the story because I know we're running short on time. The young man saw that man who had asked him the question days later, and he said, I want to thank you. I was in an awful hurry to go and jump off a bridge. I was on the way to kill myself when you stopped me, and your question changed my thoughts enough that I didn't do it. Now, if he had never seen that young man again, he would never have known that he made that big a difference
No,
in someone's life. So you never know when you say, have a nice day, or how are you today, and you listen to their answer. You never know how much of a difference you made for someone or didn't make.
or didn't
And
make.
if somebody snaps at you, remember something, maybe somebody just stomped on their toe just before you came along.
You know, that's what I would say. You never know what just their last conversation. This conversation, I'm loving it. We need to talk again. It's gone in a direction that I wasn't really thinking it might, but things happen for reasons. And I just want to say to the audience, we've shared two sides here. Brenda Marie Sheldrake brings so much to the table through her own experiences and through business and through personal experience. And take the time, share a smile, create a legacy. People may never know your name, why you crossed paths, but you did. And you had an opportunity to be of value and service to them. Don't pass up the opportunity. Trust me, it's a gift you give that person, but the real gift is the one you give yourself. Brenda Marie, we have to talk again. There's so much more to uncover here, lots more layers to peel. I thank you so much for being my guest on B.E.P Talks, for sharing personal experiences, more than just, well, part of your story, bringing your dad into the story, which allowed me to bring my dad. I am so grateful to you for that. And I want people to get in touch with you. Where are they going to get in touch with you?
So I have the Building Better Business Relationships community on Facebook. There is a free level available to anyone with the tagline No Entrepreneur Left Behind. Or best of all, connect with me on LinkedIn, Brenda Marie Sheldrake. I'm always take everybody's message and I'm always happy to book a call with you.
Look for my message on LinkedIn, my friend. Thank you. You have a blessed day. And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you. You need to be in touch with a wonderful person like Brenda Marie Sheldrake. And don't pass up the opportunity to be the light in the life of somebody else. That is your legacy. And it couldn't be more beautiful than that. As we always say, as we always say, may the best always be yet to come. I believe it can be. And until we talk again,